Good morning. Good morning. Down and dirty here this morning. Allison Hewitt sitting in for John Dingfelder. Hello, John and Lynn, wherever you are getting stuff done today. And I have here in the studio with me Susan Morgan. So we have so many topics to talk about today because it was a down and dirty week. Well, you know, right now in this country, it's down and dirty every day. So just even before we get started, just make sure we are open for discussions and questions and comments. Studio line 813-239-9663. So good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning.
Now, where do we even start with interesting things that happened this week?
Well, we have a lot of interesting conversation to have today. Thank you so much for tuning in with us and listening and joining the show. We look forward to connecting with you and getting your thoughts as well. But Allison, I have a question for you and for our listeners. You ready?
I'm ready.
Have you ever tried to buy tickets to a major concert? We're here in Tampa Bay, but wherever you are, this is across the country. I think there were 5 or 6 states, maybe more, involved in this. It felt like you were getting robbed on your fees.
Exactly. As a, if I may say, a Earth, Wind, and Fire fanatic, getting those tickets anywhere was just, the extra fees they were outrageous.
Well, you know, a lot of people do pay those fees and enjoy the concerts, but there's many people they can't afford to go.
Oh, no.
Well, now we're going to talk about the scandal. So this past Wednesday, a federal jury in Manhattan found that Live Nation and its subsidiary, which is Ticketmaster, yes, that's right, folks, you're probably familiar with Ticketmaster, they decided that they're running an illegal monopoly.
Yeah, I think they said that the decision was they charged over $2 or $3 for every ticket they've sold for every concert for years.
And here's the interesting part. Let me tell you how all this came out. Some folks might be Taylor Swift fans. Initially, this all melted down when the Taylor Swift pre-sale and Ticketmaster became a national villain because of this illegal, and it became this big debacle. People had bought tickets, and all those Taylor Swift fans were left high and dry. But it was a couple of employees that were bragging about how they were ripping off concert goers and just taking advantage. And it was through this banter, through emails, that this became known. And then as they started peeling back the onion, every single charge brought against them, they were found guilty.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how they're going to divvy out that funds. My goodness, because that's a huge amount of money. So, well, that gives folks something to do this summer. Hopefully, that means that we will be able to be out in the concert. Although WMNF's concerts are the best, and so I do recommend that anyone who follows our schedule, WMNF. .org. Our concerts are amazing, and we do not do what Live Nation did. So,
well, you know, in fact, there's one coming up on April 25th. So if you're in the area, it's a tropical heat wave. Great bands. I think you'll enjoy yourself. But yeah, so I don't think with Ticketmaster, those ticket sales are going to come down super quick because I'm sure that they are going to, you know, fight back and say that, you know, they shouldn't have. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars.
Billions, yes.
Billions. So they're going to, you know, fight this settlement, and it'll literally take months to determine how it'll, you know, get dispersed back to the states.
Yeah, and it's just always something. Always something. And just want to also talk a little bit about affordability. Have you been following the public hearings and the workshops that they've had about the raise? Speaking of things to do and prices.
You know, it's a lot of controversy, a lot of discussions about the raise. A lot of good baseball fans out there. Bring us up to speed.
So Hillsborough County now has information in hand for how much it costs, and now they're discussing how that will happen. It's a little bit over $2 billion. And so now they're doing the deep dive. I know there was some controversy about whether or not the county commissioners or the city had the information or not had the information. I, for one, have no problem with the actual elected officials having the information a little bit before it comes public, because they are going to be the one that's vote and has to be held accountable. So they need to be able to read it so that when the public comes and asks them questions, they can talk intelligently about it. So them getting information a little bit ahead of time, I don't have a problem with. But I do also appreciate that they are holding firm to make sure that they have community meetings, because this is a lot of potential taxpayer dollars that are on the line for this discussion, and we need to be able to weigh in. I just hope that they do really good outreach to let people know when these meetings are, and don't just, put it in the bottom of the newspaper or do the radio ads. But the news coverage has been really, really good, I believe, to be able to get folks out to these meetings.
Well, I agree, and I do think it's wonderful that they are going around in a lot of different neighborhoods trying to get feedback, get ideas. I think that's great, also trying to figure out where the funds are going to come from. But I think the part that's not getting enough attention is what's being done to the Drew Park community and the Drew Park community redevelopment area. In the CRA. So if you're not in the Tampa Bay area, or maybe you're in the Tampa Bay area, you're not familiarized with this area, Drew Park is a small, mostly Hispanic working class neighborhood that's tucked between the Tampa Airport and Raymond James Stadium. It's been on the city books as a redevelopment priority for over 20 years.
Yes.
Now, not a lot of redevelopment has happened that has really benefited those residents, and I'll say, and or those businesses there.
And it's a significant challenge when you see that around that time is when Channelside started. But the actual economic development in Channelside is glaringly indifferent than in Drew Park. Now, understanding that in Channelside, you have developers that live there. You have developers and property owners who are on that board. And Drew Park is similar to West Tampa and East Tampa, as they were made up of community activists, business owners. And so they were focused on what could happen and help their day-to-day business to help, because some of them have been there for years and years and years, mom and pops. And so when you don't have a developer there, then it has gone slow, especially because the city of Tampa CRA staff has no experience in development whatsoever. They are excellent grant writers and excellent at checking the boxes, but looking at some dirt to be able to know how to develop it, they don't know. They don't have that. So historically in the Drew Park, those CAC, Community Advisory Committee members, they're the business owners, and they were working on making sure that the other small businesses survived. And so because of how the state statute is written for the CRAs, it can happen like they're doing in Gasworks, and that developer is able to borrow against future tax dollars from that area. And so technically they could do the calculations and say in X amount of years, if it's built, the taxes will be XYZ, and you can borrow against that. But specifically, those dollars can only be used for what is in the community redevelopment plan. And that's mostly infrastructure, roads, fixing the streets, water, drainage, sewage, things like that, which, if you're looking at it in the long run, may be beneficial to local businesses, because if they ever wanted to expand or grow, one of the most significant amount of money to have to be able to spend is in the road work, the sewage work, things like that. So they will have to be able to explain long-term benefits. Example, they want to do it like the Truist Stadium for the Braves, and put housing there. So if you do it in a CRA, then you've got to commit to that housing not being the high-end housing only. you've got to put some 30%, 50%, and 80% AMI so that the people who actually live there can stay there, or actually the people who might want to work there can be able to stay there. So it is a lot to consider.
It is, and it gets a little complicated when you speak about CACs, CRAs. What does that mean? Sidewalks. It's not necessarily sexy, conversation. So if you're a baseball fan out there, we want to hear from you. So feel free to give us a call at 813-239-9663. But let's just talk a moment about how a CRA works. Because, I had to be educated myself about it when I discovered we had a CRA in our area, because it's good to know.
Yes.
A lot of people, listen, we're all working and doing our best, just trying to get through life.
Trying to keep the lights on. Yes.
Absolutely. So here's how CRA works. When property values in a district go up, the new property tax revenue gets captured inside the district instead of flowing to the countywide general fund. The idea is that you reinvest that money back into the neighborhood, which you were just referencing. That's fixing sidewalks, building housing, supporting small businesses. Now, the Rays won $160 million of those Drew Park CRA dollars to help pay for the stadium. Plus, they're counting on politicians to extend the CRA from its current 2034 expansion all the way out to 2058. They say, okay, well, what's a big deal with that? Well, all right, well, that's a 24-year extension. Nobody has voted on that yet. So what happens to the Drew Park community if it doesn't get extended?
Well, my hope is that they are talking as extensively to the Drew Park community, because also how, like I said, how the CRA works is there's a community advisory committee set by law that the community has to have input and has to have a vote about what happens. And it's part of their responsibility, the community that sits on that board, to go out to door to door, essentially, to the people who live there, to the businesses that are there. And so my hope is that they're talking to them to make sure that not only are those funds don't all go to if it's extended to 58 to just the stadium. And there actually are some investments in the people who have made Drew Park the incredible community that it is.
It's a little hidden secret in Tampa. Once you kind of meander your way back in there, and there's residents that have been there for decades and have passed their family homes down to the next generation. If you're listening, we would like to know, would you rather see $1 billion of public money go to a stadium? Or do you think it should go to fixing stormwater, affordable housing, or even transit? That's a big issue in our particular area. But, here's another controversy with the Rays. They would not be paying property taxes.
No.
So the stadium itself pays $0.
No, but they will not be paying the property taxes. But there's have to be some kind of configuration to it, because then if they don't have the taxes, then they don't have the TIF, they don't have the tax increment funding to be able to finance it. So I have not heard the explanation on how they're not able to pay the taxes, but they can borrow against the taxes that they would make for being in the area.
Well, that's the part everybody wants to know. I like to say it's $1 million question, but in this case, they're projecting right now it's over $900 million in property taxes. So from my understanding, they're counting on that coming from the private hotels that will be built, offices, businesses, and those apartments that will be built around it. So, is Tampa going to be on the hook?
Exactly.
And
we're
leveraging on future city council decisions.
Well, technically, city council doesn't have a vote. This is negotiated with the mayor. City council doesn't get input. They do get the information, but this is the mayor, the county commission, and the sports authority who are doing the negotiations. So it's still a lot of information to be able to, and it's a significant amount of debt, and a significant amount of debt to us, the taxpayers, and then what they call the billionaire set that owns these stadiums and these teams. They're just continuing to make money. I mean, there's got to be some kind of equitable conversation that doesn't put the bill on the taxpayers' backs who are feeling the pinch everywhere now. I mean, this couldn't come at a worse time when, gas at the gas station, the gas pumps right now, I'm paying $4.91. I mean, my goodness.
Well, who would have thought? We're just talking baseball, and many of us enjoy going to the games. It's affordable, it's relaxing, but who would have thought it's so complicated?
Exactly.
What happened to St. Pete? They couldn't get it together and keep their Rays over there, and here we are.
No.
Losing our community college campus.
Well, they'll still be there.
Well, they'll still be there, but they don't have room to expand.
No.
And let's talk about the traffic.
Let's talk about the traffic. Don't get me started with the traffic and the traffic studies for people who, this is on radio, so I'm doing the little quotes, the traffic studies, as you and I have talked about on 22nd and Hillsborough, how we've been able to build, a few hundred units of affordable housing, but the traffic study says, oh, no, it won't impact the traffic. And they just announced last week a potential 4,000-seat venue in Ybor. Where is that traffic going to go? Coming in and out of 4,000 people coming out of events off of 22nd Street and 7th Avenue.
No, exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of folks in Tampa that are very excited about the potential of going to a Rays game right here in the city of Tampa. Spoke to some folks over in the St. Pete side that go to the games, are season ticket holders. They're willing to drive. The challenge is that traffic. Now, if you haven't gone to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, the traffic does move on Buccaneer days.
Yes.
But when you talk about Drew Park, you can't go through the back neighborhoods like you at a Buccaneer game. You could take the back roads, get in, get out. A lot of the neighbors let you park cars in the yard, and it's very walkable. Drew Park is more industrial, and there's not as many back roads. So Del Mabry is going to be the main in and out.
Exactly. So it is a lot to see, a lot to go through. And from what I'm understanding, the Rays have a timeline. And so they're pushing because they have a timeline that they need to be able to follow based on their financing and being able to move forward. I just hope they understand this is a lot for people to digest, a lot of information, especially, as I said, when they're already dealing with exceptional inflation and price issues. So, well, we will see. Hopefully, I'll be able to digest. I think there's like 28 pages that they just submitted to the county for the workshop last week, and I have that, and I'll be going through that. So,
well, I think the follow-up meeting is May 5th.
Okay.
At the Tampa Convention Center. So if you're interested in this, it's good to go, even if you don't plan on speaking, just to listen to hear. And a lot of people are showing up and asking really good questions. So I do think it can work here in Tampa. We just need to make sure we get it right, ask good questions, and try and hold folks accountable.
Exactly, because we want to keep this, if it comes, we want to keep it, one, affordable for the families, and two, we do not want to have it overwhelm the taxpayers. Absolutely not, because we got house insurance and we've got property taxes, although I still need to try to understand what just passed in the property taxes. I do not get that yet.
Well, maybe we'll cover that next time we come back. Just as we're speaking about Ticketmaster, maybe they'll have that figured out. So when it's time to go to one of those Rays games in Tampa, maybe ticket prices will be lower, and they're going to have concerts there as well.
Yes.
Maybe those concert prices will be lower.
Well, we can only hope. We just need lower in a lot of things right now.
No, absolutely. Well, Allison, maybe we should talk about our governor for a moment and what he was up to. A couple weeks back, he just recently signed into law some new voting restrictions.
The SAVE Act of Florida, yes. So as we are talking about the local elected officials who will be working on the stadium, well, we have an election coming up, and we'll say that the SAVE Act that they did sign into law on April 1st does not go into effect until January 1, 2027. So we need to make sure that everyone who is registered to vote is re-registered by January 1st, 2027, because it's a significant amount of changes, and it essentially throws everybody off the rolls. So we're okay for the August for our judges and for our primaries and for November. But for our municipal, for our mayor and city council in March, we will all need to re-register to vote.
Well, I think it's interesting. It's named Florida SAVE Act. What are they saving?
What are they saving?
I'm not sure what they're saving, but this was modeled after the federal Save America Act, championed by our President Trump. But, it was stalled in the U.S. Senate where it lacked the votes to get it done. So let's talk. What does it do? Okay, you have to show proof of citizenship. Everybody has to show. So you voted how many times? You still got to show that proof.
Yes.
That means a real ID. And I'm going to do my own air quotes. Real ID.
Yes.
And state ID was citizenship designation. So has this gone? If I go to the DMV, are they aware of everything?
No, I did not have to take my birth certificate to renew at the DMV.
So what is this?
I had to take it when I had to get it, but not the real ID.
So what is a state ID with citizenship designation? Is that a new line on our driver's license?
I think that's what the little gold star in the corner now. So you have to take your proof of citizenship. And I think that the biggest thing here is you've got to be able to sign an affidavit that you're a citizen, and you also have to disclose if you have dual citizenship. You have to bring your proof into your dual citizenship.
Well, this impacts over 13 million voters in Florida. So they're going to cross-reference what's on your voter registration card with your license has been issued through the DMV. So if you were married, you were divorced, you just didn't take time to change your name because it's a hassle. Well, if those names don't match, you're not voting.
Well, the other very interesting thing for me on there, it also requires voting to be conducted using paper ballots. I don't know if you remember the hanging chads.
I was just going to say, I'm starting to have PTSD.
Exactly. Yes, paper ballots. Because that's a whole lot safer, I guess.
Well, we're not even going to get into that conversation because we're a little antiquated in some counties. I mean, Florida does the best it can, but we have some outdated machines, as we discovered in the hanging chad days. And I'm not certain they've all been brought up to speed.
And for those who may not remember the hanging chad, way back in the day, you had to poke out the little perforated zero to select which candidate you want to vote for. And sometimes it didn't come all the way through, and so it was hanging. So did that meet that you voted for it or not? But yes, we are going back to...
So when it went in the machine, it didn't always read accurately. Mm-hmm. And there was a controversy about an election, and it all came down to the hanging chad.
But the thing is that there is no research or documentation that says that our elections are challenged. I mean, our supervisor of elections here works hard to get information out and does community outreach and, make sure that everyone knows their process and who to contact. And I have not heard of any instances that are chilling enough. I mean, I think this is an example of you say something enough, then people start to believe it. They don't, no facts, no documentation. There's nothing on record to say that our elections here, especially in Florida, were in danger.
Well, student IDs are going to be eliminated. Retirement community IDs are now eliminated. And have you tried to schedule an appointment with the DMV lately?
Oh, my gosh. It's like 3 weeks in advance.
You can't just walk in anymore and even go in as a walk-in. If you do, you're planning to sit there for 4 hours, and there's still no guarantee. So I would just like to encourage everyone, especially those in Florida, go make your appointments now. Don't stress yourself out. voting is really important.
Really important, especially, I mean, we can see how things are happening right now. Your vote counts. I think there was election recently for a special election, and I think they won by 80 votes. I think down in South Florida. So every vote counts. So we're here in the studio. Thank you all for listening Down and Dirty. 813-239-9663 is our studio line, or you can text at 813-433-0885, or you can do WMNF.org. So please call in and let us know what your thoughts or your concerns or your ideas of this issue. And so just making sure everyone understands by January 1st, 2027, if you want to participate in the upcoming mayoral and city council or local elections, you need to make sure that you are registered to vote again by January 1st.
And most of these provisions will take place after the midterms, which is good, but still plan to get yourselves. But Allison, was this even necessary?
It wasn't necessary. As far as I'm concerned, again, there's no data. This is not based on any research. This is based on, I feel that there are a significant amount of illegals voting. I feel. Now, understand that none of us will be able to get away with going into our bosses and say, I feel. You've got to show why. But there is no documentation.
So I feel impacts every Floridian in this state. Let me tell you, the numbers do matter. There were only 198 likely non-citizens identified on the Florida voter rolls in all of 2025. That's out of 13 million voters. 198.
198.
And we're doing all of this.
And making all the taxpayers go through all of this change and upgrades for 198 out of 13 million. Oh, okay.
0.0015%. Is that even 15%? I don't even know how you say that correctly. That's the resulting rate of suspected non-citizen registration. It's essentially non-existent.
Exactly.
I mean, it's less than 1%.
But we all have to go through this. We all have to make sure that we're paying for our updated IDs.
Well, currently, I know we're encouraging everybody to check your IDs because we want you to be able to vote. But currently in Florida, over 90% of Floridians do already have a real ID. Over 90%. Now, there are those individuals that maybe got married, got divorced, and their voter registration might be different than their Social Security card and their driver's license. So if you're in that category, please correct that. But majority of citizens already have a real ID. So we're spending all this money and time, and what that will do is only make more barriers to people to go vote because we're all busy.
Exactly.
Raising kids, working, paying $5 a gallon for gas.
And the thing is, because those people who know me understand I have seniors, lots of seniors in my life, and those seniors don't drive. So they do not have a driver's license anymore. So we're having to go through getting these seniors to get to the driver's license place to get an ID to be able to participate and vote, something that they have been doing for years. So now you've put a hindrance into some of them getting a ride to be able to go get their documents that they need. And if it has to match your birth certificate, I mean, you've got them to do a whole lot of extra work for less than 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets interesting because they're trying to educate and target young people to get out and vote. And they're standing up. You go to any of these protests, doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. We have people from all sides showing up at protests. A lot of college students, which is great. They're having conversations. I had a conversation the other day with 2 12-year-olds, and I was excited about that. I didn't get everything correct, but the fact they were willing to discuss some politics and what was happening in our country is exhilarating for me. But there's also another trend. Young people are not interested in driving as early as we were.
No.
I mean, could you wait to drive?
Oh, could not wait. But to turn 15, I get to get my permit. When are you going to take me to get my permit? And
exactly.
Yes.
On that 16th birthday, because you could still at that time walk into a DMV and get your actual license. Well, a lot of young people, they just don't want to drive.
No.
They're using Uber. What's the other one? Lyft.
Lyft, yes.
So there's a lot of college students that only have college or student IDs.
Yes.
So if we don't encourage them to go you could still get a Florida state ID. It doesn't have to be a driver's license. But again, it's hard to get young people to do anything responsible. They say, I already have an ID. Why do I need to get? It's another $25.
And that's need to be an outreach to the folks on campus, because they have set up polling places near or on college campuses to be able to have them have access. Well, as much as we had to get the information out that you had polling places on campus, now we have to say, sorry, you can't use your student ID. You've got to go get a real ID to be able to vote. I mean, the ability to try to impact less than 1% is going to significantly suppress the vote.
I think maybe that's what the goal was here.
Well, you heard me. I'll also mention poll tax, which this is their way of reinstituting it without saying it. So you don't have to pay for your voting rights, but there's a lot of fees you have to pay to get your voting rights. It's just so much.
Well, yeah, that brings up a really good point, because we know across the country, but in particular here in Tampa Bay, the affordability, the housing crisis we're in, gas continues to go up. So just everyday living expenses. People are just trying to get by. They're trying to enjoy life. And you raise a really good point that we're not calling it a polling tax. But is it a polling tax? Because there might be, say, a single parent, or there's even a two-parent household. Maybe they're caregiving senior parents. I mean, listen, just life is expensive. And we don't think much of trying to order a birth certificate. That's $25, $30 going down. Updating your driver's license is another fee.
Exactly. And if they were going to actually have to have you do the passport, that's a couple $100. To have a passport. But no, they continue to move this, and the ability to keep saying something over and over and over and over again to be able to provide fear in people to be and anxiety is amazing. But if you do that during a time that someone's already stressed, they're going to try to find something to to point their finger at. This is the reason why we're anxious. So, again, studio lines 813-239-9663. We would love to hear your opinion about anything that Susan and I have talked about today. Love to hear from you.
Or if you have a new topic, something that's on your mind, feel free to share.
Oh, exactly. Thank you, Scott. Skip, sorry. The other thing that happened, too, is now you are automatically signing up people for the new military draft. Why can't they automatically register them to vote, too? So you can automatically, thank you, Skip, thank you so much, yes. So now that they reinstated the draft and they have all this data and technology, then why not to say, and they can leave it blank and say, when you go in, you can pick a party, but you're already registered to vote.
That makes too much sense.
Yeah.
And you could have a box there that if you did not want them to, quote, pre-register to be a voter, then you could check the box. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to have some thoughts about, bringing the draft back, but that makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
That's if we wanted voters, though.
Yes.
And if we wanted people to have a voice.
Exactly. So I don't get that part at all. If you can do that, sign everybody up for military draft again, then I'll also sign them up to vote. So we have a call regarding voting rights from Paul. Paul, are you there? Paul? Hello, Paul.
Hello?
Hey, can hear you now. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, well, voting rights. There's the bottom line is it's part of the white racist. I'm a white guy, by the way. It's part of the white racist agenda. I mean, it's that simple. They want to. They're not looking to disenfranchise the white voter. They're looking to disenfranchise the black and brown voter. And you know what? Evil is metastasizing in America. Get ready. The trouble has just begun. And, you know, and Florida, sad to say, but Florida is like the epicenter of all the idiots. Oh, by the way, on a positive note, all their efforts, it might kill a lot of people, but in the end, it will not work. So,
no, we've seen this before. We've seen this before, and we've battled it, and we're hoping that we will be able to stand again. And I personally believe that you are absolutely correct. I think that people are looking at the new census and understanding that the white majority is slowly becoming the melting pots that America is, and we really do appreciate you calling in, and please continue to listen to Down and Dirty and WMNF, but thank you for calling today.
And Paul, I think you're right. I appreciate your enthusiasm at the end. I think long-term, they will not win. The reason why they're not going to win is individuals like you that are willing to call it out. We need to, what's being done in secret, to speak truth.
Speak truth.
We need to be able to bring it into conversations, enlighten people, because there's a lot of Caucasian people that are working and, you know, raising children, involved in different activities and hobbies, and maybe are not fully aware of some of these activities because it doesn't directly impact them. But this is why when you bring the conversations up, they go, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining the conversation today.
And we also have Earl from Tampa, I believe. Good morning, Earl.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Hey, thanks for calling in.
Hey, well, thank you. As I was telling the screener, I don't know, I consider myself a bit of a numbers nerd. So when you were talking about the 198 people out of 13 million registered voters, that comes down to, like, I got the number here, 10 million of 1%. So they're really trying to make us all scared over nothing. Or they're trying to really impose their will over, like, something that's completely insignificant.
And thank you for being able to put the words to this number. Skip had done the calculations. Like, how do you even say 15 million %? Yeah, so we are changing.
I had to actually go to a numbers to word calculator on Google.
Yeah, so we are changing millions of people potentially. But they are going to be kicked off the rolls, and they have to re-register January 1st when this comes to end for 198 potential. Those aren't all confirmed.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. When you look at the math, that's why I didn't even know how to say it. We're going through all of this, and it's so minuscule. We do not even know how to speak grammatically correct the number statistically.
Exactly. So, Earl, thank you so much for giving us a call, and please continue to support WMNF and Down and Dirty. So thank you for that. And to understand that there are people who want to stand control and power so much that, again, they would say this over and over and over and wreak fear in people that we have to do this right now to save the state of Florida. Well, we also have Joe calling in. Joe, can you hear us this morning? Thank you for calling.
Hi. Yeah. I'm calling about, first of all, let me tell you that I do disagree with almost everything that you've said. So you'll probably cut me off short. But
we appreciate all voices and all opinions.
Okay, that's good. Number one, without borders, we don't have a country. There is not a country if they don't have borders, and we do. We have laws that say that people need to be citizens of the United States to vote in our elections, which is just logical to me. I mean, I can't see it any other way.
We agree.
It's BS that the right is trying to block blacks and other nationalities. That is total BS. I know that for a fact too. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of bloodshed going on, but Iran has threatened us for 40 some odd years with, and they almost had. They have what they need to make a bomb if they increase it another 30%, if they enrich it another 30%, and they will use it if they get it, and they'll use it on Israel and us if they can, if they get it. So it makes total sense to me that, if it takes a war, if it takes Iran getting flattened so that they, they're no longer a threat to us, fine with me. I don't think it's a good idea to live in fear, and for people to live in fear. I don't.
And then I get that too. And as a black woman, besides the fear of Iran, I fear when I get pulled over by the cops. I fear every day when my nephew is driving down the street and they're being racially profiled. There is so much fear that's beyond the nuclear bomb that we have to deal with every day when we're walking in and out of the streets. So there is still work to do on all sides. And I do understand and respect your opinion, but we all view the world from our concept. And right now, for the black people in my family, trying to make sure we register to vote, there is a lot of work for us to do to be able to make sure that we have our seniors, that we have to make sure.
So I'm sorry.
So, no, like I said, I thank you for calling, and we do need to hear all sides. I come from a political history in which the country is only better when we're talking and not vilifying each other. When we are making sure that your ideas and my ideas, we come somewhere in the middle, because most people are in the middle, because my lived experience is not yours, but that doesn't make yours not important. But we've got to be able to sit down and discuss these things and come up with answers together as a country, because we are still of the same country. So I really appreciate you calling, and thank you, and continue to call and share. But right now our boards are lit up, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening and joining the conversation. That's what it's about, but we need all of our leaders to be in a conversation and not go around and threaten. Nobody should live in fear. It doesn't matter what country you're in.
Exactly.
We don't want any war crimes.
Exactly. We don't want any war crimes. Exactly. So we have, if you don't mind, I'm going to just say we have Lee from Seminole Heights calling. Good morning, Lee. You there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, good morning.
Hi. You might have already covered this because I was doing some stuff outside, but I came in and it's about the Real ID. Is that my current driver's license?
Does your current driver's license have the gold star in the corner?
Yes.
Then you have the Real ID.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much, because I thought I've got a way out-of-date passport, and that's a lot of money, and, this is just horrible.
Yes, but you still need to re-register in January. When it comes into effect, the whole voter rolls will stop, and you'll have to re-register, especially if you live in the city of Tampa, to be able to vote in the mayoral election that's coming up in March.
Oh, I've got to. I've never missed a vote.
Okay.
Well, for that, can I call like I've already called the election supervisor to make sure that I can get a mail-in ballot for the midterms.
Yes, you are okay for the midterms, but January 1st.
When I re-register, can I re-register by phone, or do they want you to, stand in a line in the hot sun?
Yes, you have to go in. You have to show. You got to show your documents.
These people have no shame.
I tend to agree with that.
Oh, man. Well, but I'm okay in that I've got a Real ID, so I still have to register before January 1st.
No. January 1st is when the law gets into effect, so after all the rolls will be purged. So you've got to register January 1st, after January 1st, to be able to vote in March.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And if you said all this, I apologize.
No, not a problem. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening, and continue to support Down and Dirty.
Oh, yes, and thank you for volunteering and doing what you do. And have a wonderful day and a fabulous weekend.
You too.
All right.
All righty.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. And as Allison gets ready to take the next call, pull your driver's license out and look on the upper right-hand corner. If you see a gold star, you are good.
Okay, we have Mike from Sarasota.
Hey?
Hey, Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
I don't usually call, and I don't usually listen to Down and Dirty because by that time in the morning I'm worn out with all the evil that's in the world. But you guys are doing such a great job. But I just had the guy that just called a minute ago, bless his heart, I forgot his name. And he says he refuses to live in fear, but if he could have hurt himself, he just sounds like he's just scared stiff. He's got all the mainstream media talking points. He's got all the fear and all the weird, like, strange, foggy reasoning that doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny. And, I'm not a hater. It's like, but I don't know. I can see, our leadership in the country is not any kind of leadership whatsoever. And it's a shame that all the people who voted for our current leadership are now stuck. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They've either got to swallow their pride, admit that they got schnookered, admit that they got lied to the face, and stand up and do something, or we can continue to hide behind our flag and claim this and claim that and claim the other when none of it really holds water. And I just wanted to thank you guys for being there, and I wanted to thank everyone who called in, because if we don't talk to each other, nobody's ever going to know anything.
Exactly. We've got to have shared conversations. So don't forget to make sure that you're registering January 1st.
Oh, yeah. No, they're going to have a hard time disenfranchising people like me.
Great.
We're the people that built the country. We're also the people who like to love everybody. And, it's like a shame today, like, all of a sudden being a Christian is like a bad name. It's like, I don't know, to me it's just amazing, like, what people will swallow just so they don't have to, like, back up and say, hey, I was wrong.
Exactly. And we just need to continue to have the conversation and have the dialogue without calling everyone evil just because we're having a different opinion. So thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, I'm not saying anybody's evil. I'm just saying, a lot of people got duped. And, hey, thanks for taking my call. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what I love, thank you for calling in, is a reminder that we all need to be humble and be kind, not to be quick if you don't agree because somebody voted a particular way, because somebody might have that awareness to say, hey, maybe I voted this way, but now I realize that was not the right decision, and we shouldn't be quick to judge that person.
Exactly. So we have Jim from Riverview. Can you hear us, Jim?
Yes.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning. Listen, I want to start. You made a comment that I 100% agree with. And I wanted to say first that I am a white male. I'm a Republican. I did vote for Trump. And I support him in everything he's doing. With that said, though, you made a comment earlier that it doesn't matter, like what side you're on, that everybody should come to the table, so to speak, and we should all meet in the middle somewhere. Because there was a time when you voted for a president and your president didn't win, and we still supported the president that was there.
Yes.
And I think that's what we lost in this country.
Yes.
It's like the Republicans want to fight the Democrats, and the Trump haters, hate Trump, and the Trump supporters hate the people that hate Trump. I don't know, again, where we lost it all, but you made that comment that we should all be able to agree and meet in the middle somewhere. And I thought that's exactly what we're missing today.
Yeah, we need to get back to being able to talk to each other, respect each other's opinion, and understand, though, that not everyone is all right. Because that's not where our world is.
Right. I'm very open-minded. I mean, I do support a lot of what Trump's doing. I believe in the borders being closed. I believe, that you should be a citizen of this country if you're here from another country, things of that nature. But I also believe in being open. I mean, I don't think you should imprison an immigrant that's trying to do the right things and working and things like that. He should be able to, get his citizenship and do it the right way.
Exactly. And I really appreciate you calling in. I've got two more calls I'm going to try to take. Please continue to support Down and Dirty. Thank you, Jim. And now we have Bill from St. Pete. Bill, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I'll go back a couple of years before all of this Republican and Democrat nonsense went on. I remember my aunt and uncle and my parents being so overwhelmed that a Catholic, being John F. Kennedy, was elected into the office.
Yes.
So let's go back a couple of steps there. Okay, we're going beyond the Democrats and Republicans. They could not believe that somebody who is, related to the Pope, God bless him, would ever be in office. Okay, so let's go beyond that. However, the only thing that I can say is that if you read a little bit of history, I know I'm going to upset being that we're down and dirty. I'm going to get dirty. Are we getting very close to the Jim Crow laws? Will the new laws eventually, if we have to show our place on Earth and where we originated, how many stars do we have to guess are in the sky like the African Americans had to do?
Yes.
And how many marbles are in the jar? Is that what it's going to get down into? And people who support Trump, you know what? I hope gasoline gets to be $20 a gallon. Maybe that will make the Republicans happy. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. You have a great day. Okay, we have Sherry from St. Pete. Sherry, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hey.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the fellow that was the Republican that called in. And I appreciate the fact that he told us what he liked about Trump, because I have asked so many Republican friends, some of which who do not vote for Trump now, but they always say, the ones who did vote for him always say, you wouldn't understand. And I said, I'm not trying to judge you. Just tell me your opinion and what it is. And I always hear, even from my best friend who I adore, the same thing. You wouldn't understand. So we do need that dialogue, and I'm glad that fella did say what he liked. I don't agree with it, but I'm glad he did, and I'm glad you take it. Okay, real quickly. The thing with Iran and nuclear, when George Bush sent in Scott Ritter, and the team to look for weapons of mass destruction, they came out and they said there were not weapons of mass destruction. There was nuclear. People need nuclear energy for electricity, for different things other than bombs.
Exactly. And so
Ritter came out and said no. And for that, he was in prison not long after that from an ambiguous charge of child pornography. I know him. And so, I mean, the whole thing was ludicrous. And, but anyway, the thing about nuclear energy, you have to get to a level of 9, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but they were not at the level of 9. They were at the level of 5 or 6.
And I appreciate it, Sherry, but we've got 2 minutes before we sign out.
I know you do.
So thank you for the information. We'll be back this next Friday. So please listen in. But you're absolutely right, and we've got to get people the facts and not the emotional information that's going to be their emotional triggers. So thank you so much for calling in.
And thank you for WMNF Good Vibes from multiverseland.space.
Thank you. And so thank you for everyone who called in today. And we have one last caller, but understand, caller, we are... Oh, nope, and they're gone. So want to give some other dates just to make sure. January 1st, you need to make sure that you're registered. And the Tampa City election dates are March 2nd for the first round. If a runoff is needed, it'll be April 27th. So please, everyone, especially in the city of Tampa, to be able to make sure January 1st that they are able to vote in the Tampa municipal elections. And then next time we can talk about all the people who have now registered to run for mayor.
That'll be a great conversation.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Susan. Skip, thank you. I got caught up and I called you Scott. Apologies for that, for running our board. Thank you, everyone, for calling in today. And that was a very exciting call-in group for the last 10 minutes of the show. And Susan?
I think we're ending on a great note. That's what makes our country great. It's all the different voices and opinions.
Exactly.
Have a wonderful day.
WMNF Tampa.